The first day I met Linda Parker, my new HOA president, I thought she was simply strict, but harmless. She walked with her clipboard like a queen patrolling her castle, noting every lawn, every flower pot, every car in every driveway. But I soon learned Linda was more than a busybody. She was ruthless and reckless, and she believed power was hers forever. It began when she taped a violation notice to my door, claiming my wheelchair ramp was unapproved and must be removed immediately. My father, a veteran who lost his legs in combat, relied on that ramp to enter his own home, and I had the permits signed and sealed by the city. When I confronted Linda, she sneered and said rules were rules, even if it meant my father was trapped inside. Her cruelty lit a fire inside me. I told her the ramp stays. Days later, I heard grinding outside at midnight. My security cameras caught Linda with a power saw, trying to cut the bolts that secured the ramp to the concrete. The noise woke neighbors. Lights flicked on, and when I called the police, they caught her red-handed, tools in hand, sweat dripping down her furious face. She screamed that the neighborhood aesthetic mattered more than pity projects, but the officers arrested her for attempted destruction of property. I thought it was over, but the next morning I found she had been reinstated by the HOA board, claiming it was a misunderstanding. Then came the flood of new inspection rules written with my house in mind, each one a dagger. She fined me for leaving my trash bin out for 10 extra minutes. She fined me for a flag on my porch, claiming it violated fabric regulations. She fined me for potted plants, even though half the board had the same ones. I refused to break. I studied the bylaws line by line and discovered her rules were not only biased, they were illegal. So I went door to door, speaking to neighbors, many of whom had been her victims. A family fined for a swing set, an elderly couple fined for wind chimes, a single mother fined for painting her front door without permission, even though her color was within the palette. One by one, stories poured in, and signatures stacked higher than Linda's pile of notices. We created a Facebook group, and within days more than 80% of the community had joined. Neighbors posted photos of her harassment, videos of her trespassing, and even recordings of her threatening to raise dues unless people complied. But Linda escalated. She filed complaints with the city claiming my ramp permit was fraudulent. She pushed zoning officials to revoke my father's accessibility rights. For a moment, fear gripped me, but then I dug deeper into her own records. And that was when the truth exploded into light. Her fence was illegal. Her pool was never inspected. Her deck extension violated safety codes, and the contractors she hired were her own cousins, paid through inflated HOA checks. I compiled every document, every receipt, and every photo, and sent them to city inspectors. The results were devastating. Inspectors forced her to tear down her fence, fill in her unpermitted pool, and pay fines that drained her accounts. Her fury boiled. She stormed onto my property one night, spray painting slurs across my garage door. She was arrested again. This time, neighbors stood outside filming as police led her away, screaming into the flashing lights. But even jail did not stop her. She filed frivolous lawsuits against me claiming harassment, defamation, and emotional distress. I responded with my growing mountain of evidence, footage from my cameras, testimonies from neighbors, documents from City Hall, and financial records from a whistleblower on the board who confessed Linda had been funneling HOA funds into her personal accounts. The district attorney opened an investigation. Subpoenas flew, and auditors discovered nearly $200,000 missing over 5 years. Shell companies, fake invoices, fake landscaping projects, all leading back to Linda. The final blow came when investigators raided the HOA office, seizing files, computers, and even her personal laptop. Her empire crumbled overnight. The board called an emergency meeting. Neighbors packed the clubhouse, and with a unanimous vote, Linda was permanently removed. Cheers erupted. People cried. People hugged for the first time in years. Our neighborhood felt alive. But the courtroom battle was still to come. The district attorney charged Linda with fraud, embezzlement, vandalism, trespassing, and harassment. The trial lasted weeks. Every day, neighbors lined the benches waiting to see justice. The prosecution showed videos of her destroying property, threatening families, and screaming at officers. The defense tried to paint her as misunderstood, but the mountain of evidence buried every excuse. I took the stand and described how she tried to saw apart my father's wheelchair ramp, how she spray-painted insults on my home, how she turned our neighborhood into a zone of fear. Other families testified with tears in their eyes, describing the intimidation, the endless fines, the humiliation. The judge listened calmly, then delivered the verdict, guilty on all counts. Linda's face went pale. Her shoulders slumped as the sentence was read, 12 years without parole, restitution to every family, and her house auctioned to pay back stolen funds. The neighborhood erupted in relief and celebration. The ramp remained the symbol it was meant to be, not just for my father, but for every person who had been bullied into silence. We rebuilt the HOA as a volunteer council. Dues became donations, and meetings became community dinners, with laughter instead of fear. Months later, as I stood on my porch watching kids ride bikes safely past houses once dark with dread, I realized we had taken back more than property. We had reclaimed trust, freedom, and unity. And as for Linda, her reign ended not with a victory speech, but with the clang of cell doors closing behind her, because tyrants only win when good people stay silent. And when a community finds its voice, no bully can stand.